Hi guys, welcome to the video. My name is Matthew and I've been a care assistant for a bit over a year now. I've also been a care team leader or a CTL for a bit over a month, and in this video I'll try and give a brief overview of some of the responsibilities you have as a care team leader, and I'll try and give you a typical day in the life of a CTL. So as a CTL you have a lot of responsibility, but some of your main responsibilities are medication, monitoring the care team, monitoring your residents, communicating with other healthcare professionals, and then finally doing paperwork and doing a lot of documentation. So as CTL, you have a lot of responsibility with regards to medication. So you're administering medication, you're ordering medication, and you're chasing up if any medication has gone or it hasn't come back to you from the pharmacy after you've ordered it. So if there's any problem with medication, ultimately it really comes back to the CTL. And then secondly, you need to manage the care team. So the care team are responsible for completing a load of jobs throughout the day. And as the CTL, you need to overview that and make sure that all of these jobs are getting done at the correct time to the correct quality. And not only do you need to monitor the care team, you also need to monitor your residents. So you need to always be on the lookout to see whether everyone is eating as they normally do, drinking as they normally do, if they have the same toilet habits. Maybe someone hasn't been to the toilet and had any bowel movements for 3 or 4 days, then this is a little bit of a red flag. Maybe they aren't behaving normally, maybe they're a bit more confused or aggressive. And maybe in your head you're thinking, oh, they're a bit more confused, maybe they have a UTI, or they haven't had any bowel movements for the last 4 or 5 days. I need to double check with all of my care team to make sure that they haven't, because it might just be the care team have forgot to document it. Then that's on their head. Then I need to just get them to document it. So I know that I don't need to speak to the doctors. But if maybe they haven't had any bowel movement in like a week, I need to be on top of that. I need to be getting laxatives from the doctors or whatever it is. So I need to be monitoring the care team and the residents. And like I said, the care team leaders need to be always communicating with other healthcare professionals such as doctors, district nurses, palliative care team, the dementia team. There are loads of different people you need to communicate with, including the family or the relatives or next of kin or whoever it might be, is also very, very important in your communication to ensure that the family knows exactly what's going on and to ensure that the resident is receiving optimal healthcare at all times. And finally is paperwork and documentation, which is maybe the most important. So all of the previous 4 responsibilities that I've spoken about, medication, speaking to family, speaking to the doctors, monitoring the care team, monitoring residents, all of this will need to be documented throughout the day whenever you see something change. There's paperwork that needs to be done every single day with a lot of these things, including you have a pharmacy audit to make sure that I'm handing out the correct drugs. So I'm responsible for all the medication. I have to do like a checklist and sign for a couple of things regarding eating fluids, making sure everything's clean, everything's safe. There's a lot of paperwork that a CTL needs to do to ensure that the CTL is doing what they're doing, but also the care team is doing everything to the best of their ability. Those are the main ones, but there are a lot more small responsibilities that I have left out that you will need to do on a day-to-day basis. So now I'm going to give you a very brief timeline of what you'd expect on a day-to-day basis as a CTL. And these don't include any of the miscellaneous tasks like talking to family members, doing GP rounds, taking blood pressures and oxygen saturation levels, and all of these other hundreds and hundreds of miscellaneous tasks, which probably take up about 50% of your job. But these things I'm going to talk about will happen every single day at these exact times, or at least they should do. So personally, I get to work at 7:30, but care team leaders should be at work 15 minutes before the care team are there, so that in that time they can walk the floor, make sure everything's safe, everyone's happy, everything's how it's meant to be. You need to be making a bath list so that you're able to tell the carers who we're going to try and bath today. And then you also need to make a note of who is already up and who's still in bed. So then again, you can communicate with the carers and tell them who we need to get up and how much work we have in the morning. And then most importantly, you need to get the handover from the night staff, because it could be someone's fallen over in the night, maybe someone was found to have a UTI, and you just need to hand over all of this to your care team so that you and your care team know exactly what to expect when you're starting your day. And also, I forgot to say, when you're doing this floor walk, there will be small things you need to look out for that the care team from the night might have been lazy, or they might have missed things, or something might have happened and you need to complain about these things. So for example, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a terrible example that's probably never going to happen. The care team are probably never going to be this lazy, but I'll make up a horrible example. So let's say we have an elderly gentleman. I'm going to say his name's Jack. This is a made-up name. So Jack is in room 2. I am walking the floor. I go into room 2. I see that his hearing aids, his glasses, his dentures, his bed isn't made. All of these things are left in his room and his bed isn't made. I go to the lounge just to make sure he doesn't have a spare set, just to make sure maybe the care team have done something else and he's perfectly fine. So I'm going to the lounge. I see that Jack doesn't have his dentures. He doesn't have his hearing aids. He doesn't have his glasses. He needs a shave. He looks very scruffy. He doesn't have socks on. He just has shoes. I don't know, he's just looking a mess. And they left the commode out in his room and it's just a mess. So all of these things, I would go to the CTO or I'd see who's working that day and I'd be like, guys, what's going on? What's happening with Jack? And maybe there's a logical explanation. Maybe he refused to have his hearing aids in, which is fine. He refused to have his dentures in, which again, these are kind of fine, but if someone has dementia, you should really be persuading them to put them in. And most people you can persuade because most people do want their dentures in, most people do want their hearing aids in. But anyway, I'm going off topic. You need to complain. Maybe there's a logical reason this isn't happening. I'm going off a topic. Anyway, moving on. Then at 8 o'clock, you give handover and you communicate all of these things I previously discussed with the care team. So bath list, who's still in bed, the handover, maybe someone's unwell, maybe someone's fallen over. You also need to assign someone on the 1 to assist and someone on the 2 to assist that morning, and then they'll stay as 1 to assist or 2 to assist throughout the day, and that will kind of change how their day is. And then at 8 o'clock, breakfast will start. So as a CTL, you are in the dining room with all of the residents or the majority of the residents, and you are doing the medication. You're overviewing what the staff are doing. You're overviewing how the residents are eating, how they're behaving, the fluid intake, and all of this stuff. And you're constantly monitoring everything and trying to make sure everything is in order and to the best quality it can be. Then it gets to about 10 o'clock. I've probably finished, or the CTL's finished with their medication. They've probably overviewed all of this stuff. Everything is probably okay. Maybe there are some concerns. Then these concerns, you'd either speak to the staff directly or you'd find out further information from this resident. Maybe they are a bit confused. You might have to have a conversation with them, maybe just to work out how confused they are. Then you might have to speak to a doctor. Anyway, again, I'm getting off topic. So like I said, breakfast is finished. It's 10 a.m. Then you have all of these miscellaneous tasks that I'll speak about later. I'll give you a list later of all these miscellaneous tasks that you might have to do. But then you have this time from 10 a.m. to 12, which is lunch, to do all of these miscellaneous tasks or try and get as many of them out of the way as you can before lunch. Then lunch is from 12 to 1. And during this time, you and the care team pretty much have the same job. The only difference is that I have a bit more responsibility and I'm overlooking how things are going and making sure that things are going well. So during lunch, the care team leader, the care assistants, the residents, everyone will be eating together, hopefully having a conversation, hopefully having a nice time. And this really, a lot of the time, is the only time the CTLs actually have a break. Or me personally, I rarely have a break. And this is the only hour that you have a break, and to be honest, half of it is spent just giving food and dessert to the residents. So you, as a care team leader, this is the only time you get to relax. I look forward to lunch because not much can go wrong and you're just sitting back and hopefully enjoying it. And then after lunch, so it's about 1 o'clock now, you're doing medication. It normally takes me about 15-20 minutes, maybe half an hour to do medication because not that many people have medication after lunch. And then from, let's say, 1:30, you finish medication at 1:30. From 1:30 until 5 p.m, you have all of these miscellaneous tasks. And then at 5 p.m, again, you have medication. And you'll be doing medication in the middle of people's dinner, probably towards the end, really. And that normally lasts me about an hour and a half because I'm normally quite tired now. So it just takes me a little bit longer just to double check I'm doing everything completely accurate. And then 6 o'clock, I'm finished. And sometimes on a very good day, I wouldn't have any more miscellaneous tasks to do. And I would walk the floor immediately. So I'd be walking the floor, making sure I'm looking out for all of the things that I was looking for in the morning that I was possibly going to complain about. And then probably like 7:50, 7:30, depending on when the nighttime CTL comes in, they'll come in, they will do a floor walk, or they should do a floor walk. And then they'll make any complaints to me. They'll ask me what's going on with maybe Jack. I'm going to use the same name again. Maybe Jack is in the lounge. We haven't brought him to bed. He's normally in bed by 6 o'clock, but he's still here. And maybe I'll explain the reason is because he's very, very confused and he keeps refusing. He really doesn't want to go to bed. So I think maybe we're just going to leave him here for a little while. And then maybe he'll get tired and then maybe he'll go back to his room. Anyway, going off topic again. But those are the very fundamental things that you do on a day-to-day basis. And now I'll give you a list of a lot of small miscellaneous tasks that you might be doing as a CTL. So there are several miscellaneous tasks that can actually take hours of your day up. For example, the other day, I had to do blood pressure, oxygen saturation, temperature, and one other thing for every single resident. So 28 people, I had to do all of these measurements, and it literally took me hours. So in this list, there are lots of things, but some things will literally take you hours. What I said earlier, it didn't sound like there was a lot to do because I was saying you have like spare time between breakfast and lunch, then lunch and 5 o'clock. But you can literally spend the whole day just doing blood pressure, temperature, and oxygen saturation. Like there are a lot of miscellaneous tasks which can take up your whole day. But yeah, the main miscellaneous tasks are, I'm just thinking about this off the top of my head, so I might be a bit slower. So in the morning, it would be making sure the tea trolley is done, making sure everyone has eaten, everyone is up, everyone looks well, all the staff are doing the correct amount. No one is slacking, no one is being lazy, no one's on their phone. You're just making sure all the staff are doing things exactly how they should be. All the residents are presentable, they're looking well, they have fluids at all times, they have a cool bell by them at all times. The activities, everyone is engaged, everyone is relaxing, everything is going well. Like I said, the tea trolley is done on time, snacks are done on time, everyone is presentable throughout the whole day. You're constantly checking this hundreds of times. The bath list is going well. There are probably 6 or 7 baths that will need to be done daily, at least on my floor. And I'll be double checking throughout the day how many baths are being done, and then I'll be saying things like, oh wait, why haven't you bathed Jack yet? Normally he likes his bath in the morning. We should try and do him in the morning if we can. Da 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 da. Or maybe it's getting later and it's like 6 o'clock. I'm like, guys, we still have 2 baths left. Why aren't we doing them yet? Like, you're constantly checking throughout the day that the care team are doing what they're meant to be. And this is a lot more applicable when you have a care team who aren't familiar with how your floor works. But sometimes you don't even need to do half of this stuff, because sometimes your care team will know more about your floor than you do. But yeah, there are a lot of other tasks as well. For example, if someone's fallen over, you need to speak to paramedics, you need to talk to the family, you need to talk to nurses, doctors, there's a lot of paperwork. You might have meetings that you need to go to, you might have training you need to go to, you might have to get all the post from the front and then give it out to all of the residents. Maybe you need to refer someone for something. There's just so many small things that you might need to do on a day-to-day basis that can just backlog, and if you don't get it done in the morning, it can just take over your whole day, and it can just be very, very hard and very overwhelming. And I think the hardest thing for me as a CTL is, let's say someone falls over at 7 a.m. I'm doing medication between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Then the ambulance comes at 9 a.m. So I'm in the middle of my medication. I'm in the middle of making sure breakfast is going smoothly. And you have to do like 4 things at the same time, and just triaging and trying to work out which one I want to do first without getting too backlogged can be very, very overwhelming, especially if it's something you're new to. And it's something that I struggle with at times, because it's just very, very hard. And you end up just being so backlogged and you're thinking, oh my goodness, everything is out of control. It's just horrible. And to be honest, a lot of the time it actually is in your head, but it's just sometimes it can be very, very hard prioritizing all of these miscellaneous tasks. So yeah, I am starting to waffle and I'm going off track. So if you have any questions, I've missed out a lot, to be honest. There's a lot I could talk about. I could sit here for 3 or 4 hours. It'd be the most boring conversation ever, or the most boring video ever. You wouldn't want to sit here through it, but I could tell you so much about being CTL. So please, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. If you like the video, please like the video. If you don't like the video, please dislike the video, but at least tell me why you dislike the video, because I'm trying to get better at this. I'm trying to be decent at uploading videos. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in a little while.